Hey, what's up guys? And here is the 6-month review of my HP Envy X360 15-inch with the Ryzen 7 4700U. So actually a full review is gonna come pretty soon on this computer, but for now I'm just gonna talk about my experience for the last 6 months I've owned it. Okay, so first category, power. Actually, I really enjoy the power of this computer. So it has a Ryzen 7 4700U, so that's a 8-core CPU, and it's actually very powerful. I also have installed 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, 3200 megahertz, and actually it's really good. So it's a bit overkill for what I do, but I love it. So as it comes for SSD, I have a 954 gigabyte SSD, so basically it's a 1 terabyte version, Wi-Fi 6, and the AMD Radeon Vega 7 built-in graphics. So actually, as far as it comes for performance, I really enjoy this computer. It's really fast, and I love it for the performance size. So as you can see here, we're gonna do for the SSD speed test, and as you can see, the SSD is really quick. So yeah, very fast SSD. So I love it. So it's a M.2 SSD and it's user replaceable. So that's gonna be another aspect of the video. Actually, I really love the fact that everything is user replaceable on this computer. So now let's run a Cinebench R20 to see the power. So actually, there's a key on the keyboard to activate the mode, and I'm gonna put it into performance. So I really love that about that HP give you some mode to change the mode on your computer and change the power, the fan noise, and the power consumption of the machine. So now starting Cinebench R23, so it's the new Cinebench. I'm gonna accept that, and we're gonna run it just to see. So let's run single core. Okay, so disclaimer right here, just to talk about the fan noise. So as you can see, it's pretty loud, and the exhaust is back there. So this computer has pretty loud fans. That's a bit of a downside of it. So I don't know if you can hear it clearly, but definitely it's pretty loud. So let's go back. Okay, so single core score is 1197, which is pretty good actually. And the computer went to sleep like for a quick second, and I just woke it up like by moving the mouse. So now let's do multi-core. So let's start the test. And actually this is where this computer really shines with this 8-core CPU. As you can see, it's really quick.
There's a moment when you know that every teardrop has to go. They be piling up inside. Drop them, now inside there's a glow. Could this moment be meant to be?
Okay, so here we have the final score, 7,594, which is actually way better than most Intel laptops and pretty good. So let's compare to the M1 MacBook Air. Okay, so I actually just found a really good source, and the MacBook Air for single run, so not 10-minute run. One of the average I could find was 1700 here, so way better single core, and around 7700 in multi-core. So around the same multi-core, but the MacBook Air is a lot better in single core applications. So now let's run a Geekbench 5. Okay, so let's run Geekbench 5 CPU benchmark. Okay, so as you can see, I'm still in performance mode. So here's the result of Geekbench 5. So 1168 single core and 6429 multi-core. So that actually is a bit worse than the 2020 MacBook Air M1, that as you can see scores a bit better in both single core and multi-core. So around almost 1,000 better in multi-core. So definitely something that's worth checking out. And also single core is way better on the MacBook Air, since those cores are really efficient. But now let's run Geekbench Compute on this Envy x360 Ryzen 7 4700U computer. Okay, so here is the result for OpenCL score. So 12,523. And if you compare again to the M1 MacBook Air, it's 18,535. So again, a bit less powerful than the M1 MacBook Air, which are amazing, by the way. I really love those computers. So that's about it for the performance standpoint. I mean, of course, I have a lot of RAM on this computer. As you can see, 32 GB of DDR4 RAM. And yeah, I mean, day to day, it's really great. I did a bit of video editing, but 1080p 60, I mean, no problem with the DaVinci Resolve. And a bit of gaming, nothing crazy. I mean, Need for Speed Most Wanted here from 2012 runs fine at like high settings, not all too high, but you know, most settings to high, and it's solid 60 FPS. So yeah, pretty good. Wouldn't run the latest game, but for Minecraft, older game, no issue. This is gonna perform really well. Also, what I like about this computer, I really like the design, the look, and like the way that it's in aluminum, and it really feels premium. I also like the two-way backlit keyboard. This is really cool. And also the trackpad is not that bad. I didn't like it at first. It's not the best. It's not an Apple trackpad by anywhere of the imagination. They just feel way better. It's glass, and it's actually like, it clicks. I mean, Apple trackpad are just crazy good. But hey, this is for Windows machine. It's still pretty good. So here you have your fingerprint scanner, which actually works really well. I really love it. It's blazing fast. It's crazy. I really love it. Then the touchscreen is really responsive. I have the pencil. It also works pretty well. I've tried it 1 or 2 times, and yeah, it's pretty fast. Tracing is good. So I love this about that. Also the battery life, it's around rated for around 10 hours, I think. Most of the time I would get like 7 to 8 hours, which is good. But again, if you compare to the M1 MacBook Air, this will get like easily 12-hour real life, easy, more even. So yeah, a bit not as good here. This is a 2-in-1, that's why it's called X360. You can flip the screen like I'm going to show you. So actually this is the normal mode. You can put it flat on the table like this, which is pretty interesting when you have the touchscreen activated. Mine is actually deactivated right now, but touchscreen is really good, really responsive. Here you have the tent mode, which works really well with touch display, but you get the exhaust in the face. So that's, yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal, but you get some exhaust, some air in your face. And yeah, touchscreen is really responsive. As you can see, the screen just flipped. It flipped really well. That's not the issue with the computer. It's really good. Wi-Fi 6 is actually really good when it works. And yeah, so I'm going to show you the other mode. So here you can put it in tablet mode like this, or in the other way around. So like this. And yeah, the screen always turn, and the speakers are actually pretty great. Even in every position. I mean, I really love the speaker on this computer, and I love the user upgradability. So as I said, we're going fast here since it's not a full review. Full review is gonna come later if I keep the computer. And here you can see you have your, actually to disable the camera, so no need to put some tape on the camera. As you can see, when I press the button, there's a light that like blinds the camera. So the camera is disabled physically, so that's good. And also you have the same thing for the volume, so a mute with a light on it. So that's cool. You have a full-size keyboard, which has a pretty good typing feel. So really this review is going to be more on real-life things. And yeah, the travel is good, the feel is good. And but I don't like the way that it's set up. I mean, it's like if the keys were a bit too much to the left compared to a normal keyboard like this, you know, like I'm always mistyping on this thing. I don't know why. I'm always like doing A instead of S, or taping like enter instead of the A here. And like in French it's an A here. And yeah, it's really annoying. Also, there's no button right there between the Z and the shift, which actually you have here for French. It's really useful. So that's a bit of a bummer. The keyboard could be better. I love the feel, but the way it's made, it really could be better. It's like I'm always mistyping. This is only the only problem. And I've used full-size Windows keyboard before, and this one is just not like the other keyboard. I mean, I'm mistyping on it. When I work like 3-4 hours on it, I will get used to it. I will stop mistyping, but then I will sleep and I go back to this computer, and then I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna mistype again. So that's a bit a thing that I don't like. So also, the trackpad is actually pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty big. If you compare to an old MacBook Pro, it's pretty much the same size, if not a bit bigger on the HP. The feel is just a bit more plasticky. It's not like real glass, but most of the time it works. Sometimes it clicks and doesn't register. A bit of a bummer here, but hey, it's not that bad. For a Windows machine, this is pretty much the best I've used. And when it comes to the port, so actually the ports. So again, this is for me a huge selling point of this computer. You have a full size SD card slot, USB 3.1, I think, and you have here your charger. So you can actually charge via USB-C on the other side, or charge normal barrel charger, which is really convenient. And on the other side, you have your good old headphone jack, HDMI, which I really love. You have another USB 3.0, 3.1. I think it's written 3.0 on the website, so it doesn't really matter to me. And a USB C for charging and for data transfer. But actually it's not Thunderbolt 3 since it's an Intel trademark. It's not Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4, sorry, because this computer was made a bit too early to adopt USB 4 standards, so it's actually a USB 3.1 again, I think. So at least it can charge and data transfer. It's fast enough for most people. Okay, so I've changed the wallpaper for you to see how good the screen is. I mean, of course, everybody's complaining about this screen because, yeah, it's not really that color accurate. It's not really bright. But for most people, for an average user like me that's using the computer inside and not outside, I mean, there's actually no issue with the screen. I love the screen. I'm really a big fan of glossy displays. I don't like matte displays. I love when, you know, things are glossy and look good and everything. This is a 1080p panel, 15.6 inch. And yeah, for me it looks really good and good enough and way better than my good old unibody MacBook Pro. But it's not that bright. Again, max brightness, this is max brightness, 250 nits. So nothing crazy right there, way less than new MacBooks. And color accuracy is actually really bad. So this is not recommended for gaming. It's not recommended for photo editing. No, nothing that needs a color accurate display. But for students, for most people, this display actually looks good and it's not as bad as people let you think. And like I said, the fact that it's 1080p, it's not demanding too much power to the battery, which will last way longer than if it was, for example, a UHD 4K panel. So the battery is pretty small. It's a 3-cell 51 watt-hour lithium-ion battery. But, you know, like I said, it gets the job done. You can expect at least 6 hours, like doing like pretty hardcore stuff. And of course, if you push it 100% in performance mode, you're not gonna get 6 hours, but it's really easy to do 6 hours, and if you use it conservatively, you can go up to 10 hours easily. So me, my average, like I said, 8 to 9 hours with that battery. And Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0, which is actually really good, good connectivity. We actually have here a Wi-Fi 6 router, and as you can see, I'm really far away from the router right now, but we're gonna do a speed test just to show you how quick it is. Okay, so we got the result. Again, far away from the router. I'm like on the second floor and the router is on the first floor. So yeah, actually 3 of ping, download 544, upload 189. If I was close to the router, I would get way better than this. I would have like 800 close to the router. So actually Wi-Fi is really good when it works. I've seen online that sometimes Wi-Fi have problem connecting. It's has not happened to me, but it's definitely an issue that I'm worried about, and a lot of people talk about it and I don't like it. But for me it's been great, and connectivity is actually good with Wi-Fi 6 compatibility. Also the weight, people are gonna say this computer is like too heavy, but look how thin it is. If you compare it to this MacBook Pro, it's actually really thin. They have issue fitting USB, not regular USB ports. So it actually comes in at 4.42 pounds. So for me, light enough. I mean, I can put it in my pack without any issue, and I don't really feel it. It's plenty light. So I really love that about this computer too. Okay, another thing I really like about this computer is a fingerprint. It's also a fingerprint magnet, but that's not what I like. But I mean, it looked good, but fingerprints are getting all over the place. So here, as you can see, you have your two speakers. I think there's even one in the grill, like on the other side. Here you have your fans, two fans right there. You have to remove the strips to open the computer, the strip here and the strip here, which I did. You have to unscrew a couple of screws and unclip. It's actually clipped, which is a bummer. So you have to unclip the back panel, which is not that bad actually. And you have your user upgradable RAM. You can put up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. I put 32. You have around here, you have your SSD, which is replaceable, and .2, but it's still pretty fast from factory, but if you want to replace it, you can. You have a battery, it's replaceable, and here you have your Wi-Fi card, which is also replaceable. So I really love the user upgradability of this computer, and it's a big plus and a reason why I've bought it. Okay, so like I said, when it comes to gaming, I've installed Most Wanted, 60 FPS at high settings without any issue. Pro Street, which is actually a 2007 game, Need for Speed, and this can run like all max settings and like 100 FPS. And Fortnite, I've tried it, I've uninstalled it for, I didn't play it really often, but back in the days, like 3 or 4 months ago, I was playing Fortnite, and I used to get around like 55 to 70 FPS, 1080p low. So it was actually not that bad to play Fortnite, and I didn't need to use a streaming service like I do on this MacBook Pro. So this is an old MacBook Pro 2012 for info, and yeah, this is obviously way better. So when it comes to thermal on this computer, I mean, right now it's been around, let's check, 17 seconds of Cinebench R23, and we're at 99 degrees. So yeah, it runs pretty hot. It's not the coolest computer. It has two fans. It's plenty enough for cooling, but as you can see, it runs at 99 degrees. So it's basically good old Intel MacBook levels of temperature. And when you hit it full load, it's gonna go 99 degrees and never stop until the load is removed. So actually cooling, it can't cool it like enough, but it's not crazily throttling. Like if I open here to see how much the CPU is, how fast the CPU is running, it's running at 3.39 gigahertz, 3.4 gigahertz, when the base clock is 2 gigahertz. So it's far from thermal throttling, which is a good thing. So cooling, is it the best? No, it's running hot. But is it bad? No, since it's not thermal throttling, which is a good thing. And yeah, the computer will run hot without throttling, but me, I don't mind, at least when the computer will stay in one piece and not break. I don't mind hot temperatures, but I do mind fan noise. They are pretty loud on this computer. But other than that, temperature for me, cooling, I will give it a pass since I'm used to MacBooks, and for me this is good cooling, but a bit of a loud fan. Okay, so here is the microphone and webcam quality test for the 2020 HP Envy 15-inch Ryzen 7 4700U CPU. And it's pretty bad, but is it worse than the competition? Most of the time not. The competition is always really bad for webcams and microphone are not as good as MacBooks. Webcams a bit worse than new MacBooks with like processed screen quality, but it's good enough for Zoom calls, and for me it's a pass. But I would prefer that really computer companies start to include 1080p webcams on laptops. So again, since I'm talking about Zoom, which I have here, I'm actually a student, I do really a lot of Zoom calls. And there's an issue with this computer with Zoom that is actually a driver issue with the audio driver on this computer, and the speakers are gonna do a weird like grinding noise when on Zoom calls, and sometimes the microphone stop working, and HP doesn't seem to acknowledge this issue. I mean, of course they know about it, but they don't fix it. So that's definitely a bummer. And it's not happening all the time, but it definitely has happened to me. It has happened to me this morning, and it's not the best when it comes to Zoom calls because of this driver issue. Okay, so other than that, speakers are actually really good on this computer, way better than my old 2012 MacBook, if you're wondering, for comparison. And yeah, let's start a test. So now we're actually at 20%. So I won't go more than that. But as you can see, it's pretty loud. There is some distortions when you go too loud on the volume. Bass is pretty good, but I've seen better in MacBooks. You know, it's not anything like MacBook speakers, but it's way better than old speakers, and it's probably better than your old laptop. It's loud enough, it's pretty clear, it's, you know, bass is pretty good. For me, the speaker will be a pass, and it's provided by Bang & Olufsen for tuning, so that's actually a good thing. Okay, so now finally let's talk about the negative about this computer and why I'm thinking about giving it back to where I bought it and buying an M1 MacBooks. So actually, the trackpad, like I said, is not a MacBook trackpad, but it's not bad. To me, this is not a really problem, the real problem. So the keyboard is actually really good, but again, like I said, I feel like I'm always mistyping on this keyboard. It's like a bit too much to the left, and it's good, but it's not anything like the new MacBook's keyboard. Of course, no butterfly keyboard, please. But it's not like the old MacBooks, and it's not like the new MacBooks, but it's pretty good, so it's not that much of a bummer. Battery life, it's not as good as a MacBook. You see 8-9 hours. MacBooks when you get 15, probably 15 for same usage, so you're losing on battery life. Screen is not as bright as a MacBook. The screen is not as color accurate. It does not support P3 wide color gamut like the MacBook Air will, and it's also a bit less powerful, not by that much, but you have fan noise. The MacBook Air can do all of it with no fans, and it's a bit more powerful, more single core power for the MacBook Air, more multi-threaded power for the MacBook Air, so that's a plus. There's that driver issue with Zoom that doesn't seem to be fixed, and that really annoys me. There's people that are having problem with Wi-Fi. That it does not happen to me, but that's like scares me. And there's people that are claiming that the keys are coming off from the cable. Like I'm really reading a lot of forums on those since I'm started to be concerned about it. And yeah, some keyboards issue. Mine is good, but I take care of my things. So I mean, mine is still good, of course, but I'm kind of scared about it. And some people tell me that the hinge is actually coming out on some models, so which is not a good thing. And worst of all, I've heard that there's some motherboard issues with this computer. So I don't know how frequently it happens, but definitely when you read the comments on like Best Buy and everything, it's like 5 stars. Oh my god, it's so good, so fast. Never I've tried a better computer. Like, I love it for now. But you know, some comments are like, oh, dead motherboard, and I read some forums, and you know, it has happened to a lot of people. I don't think it's most computer that will have a dead motherboard, but you know, I keep my computer for 10 years plus, and I'm kind of scared about it for this particular computer. So will I exchange it? I don't know yet. Maybe I'm gonna keep it since it's fast. I mean, I love it. I love the quickness. I love the screen size. The screen looks good enough to me, honestly, for what I do. And you know, I love Apple too, because Apple is easier for me. You know, you have AirDrop, you have compatibility with iPhone. I tried to put my iPhone things on this computer, and it was it finally worked, but it was more complicated. And you know, my school is using mostly Apple stuff, so maybe I'm gonna switch to the new MacBook Air for all of those reasons. But overall, if the HP x360 Ryzen 7 4700U end up being reliable, like I wish it was, like for me it's being reliable, but like I said, I've read a lot of comments on like Best Buy comments and forums, and a lot of people seems to have trouble with those computers, and they're just like 7 months old. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, you see. But if it was reliable, yeah, I would keep it over the MacBook Air, because just for the trouble of exchanging it. But if I would buy a computer right now, I would buy an M1 MacBook Air for sure. But again, this thing has 32 GB of RAM and has 1 TB SSD for around $100 more than the MacBook Air. So again, MacBook Air would have 256 and 8 GB of RAM. So really the storage is a bummer for the MacBook Air, which is the big advantage of this computer. So yeah, so I really hope it's gonna end up being reliable. So if you having issues or good comments on this computer, leave it down below. And that will be my 6-month review on this computer. Of course, I've not used it in this computer must have like 4 battery cycle on it. I've not used it. It's crazy. I've used it plug in all the time, and once to twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. And in the week I used it the most. But this is still my main computer because I'm doing school at home. And you know, I didn't feel like using the brand new one for nothing, you know, so I still using the old computer. But now I'm starting to use it more just to see if I like it. And those are the issues that I came for this computer. But do I love it? Yeah. But I just hope that it stays reliable. So that's the only issue that scares me on it. So I don't want to alert anyone. Is it that bad? I don't think. But is it the best and most reliable laptop? I don't think so too. Of course, MacBooks always have problem too, you know, like with the Retina display and the butterfly keyboard issue, but that's fixed right now. So M1s doesn't seem to have that much issue. They have some, but it's not crazy. And yeah, I'm just concerned about the overall reliability of this computer. But for me, it's been great for now. But I've used it really gently. And yeah, we'll see if I keep it and if I do a full review. So that will be my 6-month review of the HP Envy X360. So do I recommend it? Yeah, I recommend it for the power, but reliability might be a concern. Power is good, battery life is pretty good. Screen, for me, that's not an issue like I said. But when there's other option that this M1 MacBook Air, I mean, it's kind of becoming a tough call. But I recommend it over some others Windows laptop at this price point. If it's reliable, yes. So but will it be reliable? Time will tell. But for now, you know, I'm kind of skeptical for since what I read on the net. Okay, so just to show you how quick the fingerprint scanner actually is, look at that. I'm gonna put my finger, 3, 2, 1, go, and boom, I just put it like half a second and we're in. So I really love the fingerprint scanner. It's placed, I love the placement, it's not a problem to me. So I really want to stay honest with you guys, like I said, and I really want to love this computer. And when I'm using it, I actually love it. But I really think that it might not be reliable. I can't be sure about it. But you know, I've read a lot, and it's maybe not the most reliable computer on the planet. And yeah, it's worked well for now. But to see dead motherboards at like after 2 months of the computer's life cycle, it's really bad. And I've seen a lot of those online that claimed that the motherboard was dead after like 2 months. So you see, maybe it won't happen to everybody, of course, but you see, that's an issue that I'm concerned about. And other than that, I love the laptop, like I said. But you know, that's why I would recommend an M1 MacBook Air before that. But other than that, yeah, it's a really great Windows laptop, and I hope HP will acknowledge the issues that it has, that people are claiming it has, since mine has no issue. But I really hope that HP will do something about it and fix it, since I really think this computer has a lot of potential. And I never thought I would buy an HP PC before I bought this one, because I really enjoyed it. I fell in love with it, but I just hope it stays reliable, because I love reliable things. I want to keep it a long time. That's why I spend like that much money on this computer. It's not that much, but you see, I want to keep it 10 years and more, you see. Like I still have here, you have 2012, and here you have a 2008 machine computer that I'm still rocking every single day. So yeah, as you can see, I keep my things a long time, and that's why I wanted to stay honest with you guys and to advise you that of the issues that I've heard online. And yeah, it's not to bash HP or anything. It's just that I've heard those issues online, and I wanted to tell you what I thought about this computer since I've owned it for 6 months. So that would be it with this video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and you'll see me later. Ciao, ciao.